Sure. All right. Yeah. I've got 6:31. We're going to call the regular meeting of the Common Council to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Seth,
Here.
Andrew,
Here.
Todd Kirking,
Here.
Emma,
Here.
Todd Spade,
Here.
Cindy.
Here.
John will not be here. Crystal,
Here.
Steve,
Here.
and Justin.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. Item 2, approval of the April 29th, 2025 regular council minutes.
This is Crystal, and I would move approval of those minutes without any additions or corrections.
Scott, I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 3, council announcements. Any members of the council have any announcements?
Yeah, I'll make an announcement. I believe the golf tournament for the K9 is coming up this weekend. Is that right? On Saturday. So it's a good fundraiser to be a part of. Even if you don't golf, I guess there's things you can do to help out. So it's out at the golf course. So check it out.
Anything else? All right. Moving on to item number 4 is the first period for public comment. Any members of the public wish to make a comment? Now would be the time. Nobody in house here. Is there anybody online that would wish to make a public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5, which is dedication of years of service for Norris Hawkinson. Right. However you want to do it, but for our folks online.
Okay. Well, Norris has been with the city for 20. Wait, come on up. You get center stage. Yeah. So Norris has been with the city for 20 years, and he's a jack of all trades. So he actually started with the city in the utility department. And how long do you know how long you were there? Like, I would say, 12, yeah, that's what I would say, 13, 12 years, and then switched to the street department. And so he's got legacies all over the place, but I think we've had a lot of retirements in the last couple of years that have been really notable. And, it was obvious, like Todd, he was the street superintendent, but I don't think we realize how much of a hole we're going to have when Norris leaves. Well, he's already left, but as of the first, because Norris has a hand in everything, and he is a gentleman that can just do so much for us. So I hope I remember the story right. You told me once upon a time that, was it your grandfather, when he came to America, walked until he found people who spoke Norwegian and made a homestead here. And I always think about that because it must take so much determination and perseverance and like get the job done. And I think a lot about that in you. I think you're one of those guys that just always gets the job done for us. So like I said, he's amazing spirit, but also just like his handiwork is everywhere. So before he started with the city, he worked for Badger Environmental, right? And you did work all over the city. So often when we talk about things, it's like Norris remembers actually putting the water main in or the sewer main in, storm sewer. You even did like some gas and oil tanks. There's some fuel tanks you found around town. Yeah. So like even before he worked for the city, sorry, go ahead. All over the state, right? So even before he worked for us, he was a part of the city's infrastructure and community. And then he started working for the utilities and, obviously was a very key employee there. I know that everybody always knew that if there was a water leak, like you were the solid guy to be there with Greg, and he knew things were going to get done. And then find things. I mean, we still ask questions of you, like, do you know where this water service is? Or how did this happen? And Norris knows all about it. And then he decided he wanted something different at the end, so he switched over to the street department. And I think we don't even realize, like, again, the things he did. So like we started doing sidewalk concrete, and the reason we were felt brave enough to do it was because of you, right? I mean, everybody was like willing to do it, but it was like Norris has got to be here when we do it. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And then again, even things that I don't even think of, I was thinking about the wastewater treatment plant. Like you guys built that pole shed for the UV system. So like, again, I think the assumption of like, oh, this guy's plowing snow and doing all these things is like, it's definitely done, but he's gone above and beyond and his imprint is all over and we are going to miss him greatly. So those are my 2 cents about it. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything. Todd, you worked for a long time, or Wade, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
He's gonna miss an awful lot. Like you said, he can do a lot of things. And like I said, he got smart and come over on the A team.
are you good, Wade? Do you want to say anything? You need a microphone.
Oh, probably a few years ago, we got done plowing snow and Norris said he had to stop because he wasn't feeling well. He had to get some Rolaids. Well, he was about the color of his hat. Didn't complain, then he just went through it and here we found out he had jaundice, if I've said that right. And he was laid up a while, but he didn't call and say he couldn't finish the job or complain, or just did the job and went about his business. And I appreciate that. He taught me a lot. I've known Norris a lot of years, so I'm never too proud to ask for help. I ask him for help and he's always willing to help. And I think it was my second or third year, we were doing catch basins. Probably Todd knows the story. And we had to take all the catch basins off and clean out all the leaves. And we came on about to cut one of them tables in half and we lifted and lifted and lifted. And I couldn't get it. And the big old ox come over there and picked her up out of there. And he said, that weight isn't real powerful, but he's wiry, he says. And that's about all he says. Mr. Norris, I enjoyed working with you over all the years. A lot of good memories. Best of luck to you, and we'll see you on the golf course. Thank you.
Great. Here, we've got a plaque for you. In appreciation for your 20 years of dedicated service to the city of Rockville. So congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you. Well, thanks again, and thank you everybody for coming and being here for that. So, yep. All right. Let's see here. Move on to item number 6, which is discussion. Let's see. Oh, public hearing on application for conditional use of property located at 412 South Main Street to allow 4-unit dwelling in a B2 district.
Okay, this is for the property at 412 South Main to put in a four unit, but I believe at Plan Commission it was changed to a 3-unit in the B2 district. So the public hearing went before discussion went before Plan Commission. They forwarded it with their approval. I did not hear anything from any of the neighbors in regards to for or against this. So during the public hearing is a time for anybody who wants to speak in regards to this. And then the next agenda item will be for when you guys want to discuss whether you would approve or deny it. And I do know that Abby is online. So if there are any questions in regards to this, she is available as well. So I don't know, Nate, if you wanted to go into more detail during the public hearing part of it and then discuss it.
Yeah, so Chief Burrows and I had met with Abby prior to the Plan Commission meeting and just had a conversation about the need for the conditional use permit. As Abby will be the first one to tell you, this property has been used as a multi-residential unit for some time, but it was determined from the city attorney because of the amount of work she would like to do to it. It exceeds 50, that dollar of the work exceeds 50 50% of the assessed value of the property. And so therefore, what's known as the legal non-conforming use protection no longer exists. And so for her to be able to continue to do this and receive permits, she would need a conditional use permit. Chief, is there anything more you want to add to that? Yep. And basically, I think the chief shared at Plan Commission that, certainly looking at the property, it needs work done, and we're very excited about Abby to get in there and do her thing. And so there was no sort of objections from either my office or the zoning administrator's office on granting this conditional use permit. That was said to the Plan Commission as well. And with that, Abby, if you want to share anything about the project or related to your application, we'd be happy to hear from you.
I don't think I have anything to add. Sorry, I can't be there in person though. Thanks.
Thanks, Abby. Any clarifying questions from the group?
I'm just curious why it went from a 4-unit to a 3-unit.
Initially I bought it and I didn't realize that Wisconsin says that any building with 3 or more dwellings is classified as a commercial building. So prior to learning that, I thought I was just going to have to follow the rules for the UDC, which is the Uniform Dwelling Code, which is for like duplexes and single family homes. So the requirements and then the money that is needed to bring it up to a certain standard, in this case to the commercial codes, is a lot more than what was anticipated.
Thank you.
So is a 4-unit dwelling usually allowed in a B2 district, but it was just because of the amount of money she's spending versus the assessed value? Is that why she needs the conditional use permit? What is it? Is it a 2-unit dwelling allowed, or what's actually allowed in a B2 district?
So it isn't allowed in a B2, and we kind of went down the direction of maybe grandfathering it in, because it's been used that way. But for a safety net, one for Abby was number one, but number two is what Nate had said about George and all that. So if someone were to do that again in that B district, it requires a conditional use, period. So, yeah. Oh, yep. Good question.
Yeah, so it's not a permitted use. It is a
Correct. Conditional use.
as a conditional use.
Yep.
Permit. And I don't believe there was any conditions added to this
No.
approval from Plan Commission. So
No.
that should
Yep.
be noted as well.
Yep. Perfect.
Other questions? Anybody else wish to speak at the public hearing?
Yeah, anybody from the public wish to make a comment during this time? Anybody online?
Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and we'll move on to item number 7, which is discussion with possible action on conditional use application for property located at 412 South Main Street.
Cindy, I make a motion, we grant the conditional use for 412 South Main Street to allow a 3-unit dwelling in a B2 district.
This is AJ. I'll second that.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item number 8, review and approval of certified survey map for Vickmeyer Wangen properties on lots 4 and 5 of the Silverthorne subdivision.
You want to kick this off? Well, I'll just go. So this went through Plan Commission as well. This is a CSM to basically subdivide 2 different lots into 4 different lots. And so as you can see, even sideways there, that they're basically introducing 0 lot lines into the duplex, so they have the ability to sell each side to an owner. So this has always generally been a part of Silverthorne's plans, especially probably 2-3 years ago when they came forward to the council and asked them to amend the development agreement to allow owner occupied housing versus selling them off as rental properties. So, yeah, this is pretty cut and dry, and I don't really have a lot of other information for you on that.
This is Todd. I move to approve the certified survey map for Vic Meyer Wongan properties on lots 4 and 5 of Silverthorne subdivision.
This is Seth. I'd second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 9, review and approval of certified survey map for the Viroqua Fire Station.
This item was sent out as an update. So there was an original, or I guess a draft that was included as part of your packet. This is the draft here. The update was sent earlier today, along with a signature from the surveyor, David Yerk, and essentially shows that the property of the fire station, which currently is this square, will be subdivided by this line. And as you can tell from the subdivision line, it is attempting to go as close as humanly possible to the existing temporary structures that are on the Wild West days, because there is a stormwater basin right here. And so the reason we needed to do this originally, we weren't going to, because the thought was, well, it's all city land. We can choose to rent any portion thereof. It doesn't have to be a separate parcel. We had done so with the Wild West days a couple years ago. But what we need to do is, per the USDA grant, is file what's known as a notice of federal interest on the property. And that notice of federal interest basically tells anybody, it's basically an encumbrance on the property that basically says, hey, this land was improved through federal funding. There are strings attached to it. So therefore, if we apply it to the whole land, if 15, 20, 30, 50 years down the road, we ever want to do something different with the Wild West days, say the Wild West days found some new beautiful piece of land, we would have a complication because there would be a notice of federal interest on it. So therefore, we are subdividing the land before we are putting down the notice of federal interest. But otherwise, I don't think there's really any other concerns. There was some worry about having even a temporary building that's the pole barn close to the lot line. And Chief Burrows can maybe touch base on that real quick.
Yeah, so typically there's setbacks, right, from property to property. And you can't be on the property line with a building, but since the city currently owns both properties, there's a stipulation in the ordinance that says that you can cross lines and so on and so forth. So we're covered. If for some reason the city sold that lot, then it would go against code, that building, but that building would have to stay before it would be a problem, right? And so technically those buildings are portable also, movable or whatever, and not permanent structures. And so there's, that was kind of a direction we pursued too a little bit. But anyways, it is in black and white that since we currently own both properties, it's a moot point, so.
And this has been reviewed by Lawrence Johns out at the Register of Deeds with the county, and he's comfortable with it. And so we would recommend approval on this so that we can then forward it to have it filed with him tomorrow.
Thanks.
This is AJ. I make a motion to approve the certified survey map for the Viroqua Fire Station.
I will second it.
No, we've got a motion in a couple seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 10, reappointment of Carrie Tonks and Jonah Curley to the Board of Appeals for 3-year terms expiring 5/1/28.
The two of them have been on the Board of Appeals, I believe, for at least 2 terms now, and they both have agreed to continue on this. And we do have a few meetings lately for Board of Appeals, so it'd be nice to get these updated. So
Can you just for those of you who may still be a little new, can you just give a quick rundown on what the Board of Appeals does?
Whenever they want to build something like, say, a lot line closer than what the zoning allows, then they have the ability to contest the building code and go to Board of Appeals for whether they want to approve or deny those. That's kind of what their job is. It's a citizen committee with 3-year terms. So they've been active in usually more in the summertime, because that's when people are building and such as that, so.
And specifically, what they're contesting is zoning ordinance, not necessarily building codes, right?
Correct.
And it is a fairly important board because the council sets ordinances for zoning, but there are situations that crop up from time to time that the zoning ordinances just can't deal with, right? Because it's a rigid rule, but you get some weird situations, and that's where the Board of Appeals comes into play, is they help make reasonable logic calls on weird situations that don't fit neatly into the zone.
Kim is one of the members
Kim
of
is
that as
one of
well.
them. She does a great job on it. It is an important board because you want people there who are very thoughtful and help hold the line on what the zoning ordinances are intended to do, but give enough flexibility that allow weird situations to be addressed. So
And they usually do their homework. They'll go out and look at the properties and see that it actually fits in and ask questions. They ask great questions. So it's a very good board. Jonah does, he is the chair right now, so.
This is AJ. I make a motion to reappoint Carrie Tunks and Jonah Curley to the Board of Appeals for 3-year terms expiring 5/1/2028.
Steve, I'll second.
Got a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Item number 11, approval of Steve Willis, appointment to Library Board, replacing Cindy Hubbard with term expiring 4/30/26. I don't know if any of them would like to. Cindy or Nate, I don't know if anybody wants to.
I just say that I was proud to serve for quite a few years, and I thought it was time to let somebody new, especially someone young with young kids, be good fit for the library board. So,
So yeah,
How many years are you on it, Cindy?
I replaced Wes Mack. And so for 13, 14 years, I
Yeah.
suppose. I think, I'm not sure what year Wes Mack, it's when he got a house out of city
Yeah.
limits. that he
it's been a
moved.
while.
It's been a while,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it's been like, it's a good board, it's a fun board, you feel like you're doing good work, they do good work, so it's, yeah. You'll enjoy
Fun.
it.
So
All right, this is AJ. I'll make another motion to approve Steve Willis to the Library Board, replacing Cindy Hubbard with a term expiring 4/30/2026.
And this is Crystal, I'll second.
all right, we got a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Item number 12, discussion with possible action and resolution for public participation plan for the comprehensive plan.
So this resolution is before you. This was drafted by our consultants at Redevelopment Resources and Studio GWA. As part of the sort of state law on comprehensive plans, we have to draft and approve a resolution for a public participation plan. Of course, these public participation plans are a key element within each comprehensive plan to make sure that we are really seeking out the perspectives of residents and non-residents alike to help inform our comprehensive plan. So this just has a good amount of whereases, but then goes through the plan on the following page. And this is in line with sort of what we've talked about as we did the RFP. I believe this is very much in line with what the project team that is made up of myself and Cindy and Kale have talked about. We've gotten through a few of these already, the survey of the public, interview of key stakeholders, and focus groups has taken place, coming to Plan Commission meetings, and now they are working on what they call public intercept surveys, which is a really cool term for them, just hanging out at popular places and grabbing people and asking them to answer questions before they can get on with their farmer's market or baseball game or buying their hardware at Nelson. So, yeah, again, this is just a sort of memorializes what we intend to do as part of the comprehensive plan and the outdoor, I mean, it applies to the outdoor rec plan and the historic preservation plan, but it's specifically needed for the comprehensive plan. Oops, Cindy, for some reason that might have been.
Thank you. I'll make a motion. We approve the resolution for public participation plan for the comprehensive plan.
I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Well, I was gonna say that we did do one of these once before, and that's what it's referenced in there from 2004. So this is replacing that resolution 854 that was from 2004. Some of the similar things in there, but I just wanted to point that out as well.
All right.
Just, sorry,
Yeah,
quick
yeah,
question.
go ahead.
You said residents and non-residents alike. Is there a certain weight given to either of those? Like, or is it all equal? Just curious.
I think the data, as much as possible, tries to identify who is giving the feedback, so that we can take that into consideration. But ultimately, what's challenging, especially for a community like Viroqua, is we are home to our city residents, but then we are also home to the townships. I mean, there's probably not one township around here that doesn't refer to Viroqua as, oh, that's my city, and they probably don't. So it's sort of up to us and the consultants to sort of mill through that and figure out, like, well, was that somebody who's a non-resident saying? And at the end of the day, that's sort of a judgment call we'll have to make. But it's not a very, it's not like they're running algorithms with all sorts of criteria to come up with, like, this is your plan and this is what you should do. It's sort of a little bit more art than it is science on that.
I was just making sure it wasn't like Chicago making,
No.
decisions for us. That's all.
Again, some of it we do like to hear what visitors have to say, because they inform, visitors are part of historic preservation plans, heritage tourism and things Cindy always advocates well for. And knowing that they visit our parks, people from Cashion come down and visit the playground. And so it's a very small portion.
Deal. Anything else? We had a motion and a second, I think. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 13, discussion with possible action on donation deposit into Park Bowl designated non-lapsing fund balance for Park Bowl improvements.
So this again was brought to the Park and Rec committee and approved to you guys. I'm asking for I don't remember how much it was. I can't, and wasn't on there. So the reason I'm bringing this up to you guys is we just sold the pitch count machine that was on the bottom of the old scoreboard to Stoddard, and they paid about, I don't know, it was like $2,000. So instead of taking that to the general fund, I was hoping to put it in our non-lapsing park improvement fund, Park Bowl fund, to purchase speakers for the concession stand. Because currently, right now, we are partnering with the Legion and we are borrowing the Legion's sound system, placing it up for games that we currently run down there. And it's a pain in the butt bringing them out, putting them up, so we want 2 new speaker systems that we could put on the concession stand and make things a lot easier for everybody involved down there. So that's where I was hoping to, instead of it going to the general fund, putting in that, and then working with the Legion and the high school to see if we could pool our money together and purchase new sound system for the concession stand.
Cale, have you deposited that money yet?
Yep.
Where did it go? Because I don't remember seeing that.
Hopefully the donation,
That's where you put it was in donations?
I think so.
Do you know when that happened?
Probably 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay. Because we should have designated it and then deposited it. That's why I just wanted to make sure, because I hadn't seen that, so. And I'll need to know the exact amount in order for you guys, in this motion, it needs to have the exact amount.
Was the exact amount on a Parks and Rec minute?
No,
Oh,
because I didn't realize that he had already deposited it at that time.
I was thinking it was like 2,000.
I make
So
a
do you want-
oh,
Go,
pardon.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna make a motion approving the already done donation deposit into Park Bowl designated non-lapsing fund balance for Park Bowl improvements.
But we have to have the amount.
Oh, well. Can we have contingent on you receiving the amount?
Yeah, as long as you guys are aware of that, because when you do these non-lapsing funds, the auditors make sure that I have to have that exact amount because you have to allocate that.
Yeah, we'll do that. I was just gonna tell Emma, Kale's looking for that on his phone, just so you know you
Sorry, I
didn't.
felt like I was missing something
Right.
there. It just got so quiet.
Right. No, I think we'll move on and then we'll hop back to that one if that's all right, Kale. Okay. We're gonna set that one aside and is that all right? Cindy, you made a motion. Okay. We're gonna item number 14, discussion with possible action on non-lapsing funds for Main Street maintenance materials account from 2024.
Okay. Not right now. It's okay. Should I just explain?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had last year, there would have been, was supposed to be 135,000 allocated under street maintenance materials, which ended up getting put in two different areas just because of we had the borrowing because of the health insurance, and then we didn't borrow for the health insurance, but because of the health insurance, we borrowed. And so it ended up in two different categories. But the total was to be 135,000. And if you take into account all of the expenses that we had, we were short a couple of them, basically for various reasons, but just the delays in project was the majority. One, Main Street, we had allocated 35,000 for repairs on Main Street, and we just didn't get all of them done. We finished them just recently, but that was because we started in one year and finished in the other. Same thing with Prairie Wind Way. We had intended to redo Prairie Wind Way, and we just never got to the project last year. So there was a fair amount of money just sitting there, and we had anticipated that in budgeting time because there was actually 11,000 of the budget was already planned to be carried over as a non-lapsing fund. But if you look at everything that we did end up having, we ended up actually having a surplus of 45,763. So that is the number that we put forward at Public Works. That number would go back into that same category of street maintenance materials for street maintenance projects. This was a way to, one, make sure we take care of that 11,000 that we had assumed was already going there, but also it's a good kind of catch-all category. And if we end up looking at this later and saying we still have that amount or very close, like the salt shed would be a really good candidate for this. So in any case, which it just dawned on me, the salt shed's not on the agenda. we'll have to put it on the next one. The light bulb went off. In any case, that doesn't matter for this agenda item, but it does matter for accepting the bid for the salt shed. So we'll have to make sure that's on the next one. Good thing we have a little time. In any case, so what I'm looking for today is what was put forward from the Public Works Committee, which was that we would have non-lapsing funds of 54,763 and 38 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully.
So, right. So we're looking for a motion to.
Yeah, this is Steve. I'll make a motion. We, let's see, I guess roll over that amount to the non-lapsing funds for street maintenance materials account from 2024. If that's an appropriate motion.
Do you have the amount, Lori?
I have 54,763.38.
Correct.
Perfect.
Thank you.
This is Todd. I'll second the motion.
We got a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spath,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and Seth.
Aye.
All right. Ready? We'll hop back up to item number 13, which was discussion with possible action on donation deposit into Park Bowl designated non-lapsing fund balance for Park Bowl improvements.
So that amount was $2,027.99.
Yeah, I will amend my motion to add the $2,027.99.
Steve, I'll second.
All right, we got a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spath,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
and Andrew.
Aye.
All right, item number 15, review and approval of weather siren service contract.
So for those of you that have been around for a little while, years ago, we didn't do very well at keeping our weather sirens maintained. And it started really causing us headaches. They weren't working when they should be working and so on and so forth. So anyways, this company here is the certified dealer in Wisconsin for Federal Signal, which is the manufacturer of our weather sirens. And we've been working with them for quite some time. And 3 years ago, I believe they had offered up a contract of a 3-year or 5-year contract to lock in their annual maintenance. They come around once a year. They go over the equipment, make sure everything's working fine, fix anything that needs to be fixing, and take care of problems. It's been great. We've done it for 3 years now. The contract, we did sign a contract 3 years ago to do a 3-year preventative maintenance with them, and that has now expired. And since we've been doing that, working with them, we've had a lot less issues, and I believe, has saved us some money on not burning up batteries as often, things like that. So I think it's well worth it. They do a great job, and it definitely makes my life a lot easier, less issues. So bringing this in front of you to see if you want to do another contract with them. It just locks in the price for a 3-year, 5-year period of time, and helps with budgeting and things like that. So I guess it's up to you guys if you want to go and do another contract with them for another 3, if you want to go with 5. I think we only did 3 last time just to see, make sure we were happy and everything was good, if I remember right. I'm okay with 3 again. Obviously, prices keep going up every single year with everything we do. I would like to see it for sure a 3, but I'd be okay even if you did a 5. So I'll leave that up to you guys. What's the current rate? I think
I was
400
gonna
and
say
some.
it's a rate change.
Yeah. It went up some. I don't remember that number. I think it was 450 last time. Don't quote me, but it seems like that number sticks in my head. So it's 475. We've got 3 sites. So obviously, 1425 is the total. That's only for their normal just check, right? If they find a bad battery or something's wrong with it, obviously I got to pay for parts and labor, but they've been really good about working with us on helping with trip charges. And we had some problems this year. And they worked it out and came early this year to do our maintenance so that I didn't have to pay them twice to come to town to one, fix the problem and then later come and do the annual maintenance. So I like them. They're good company for us. So.
With the new developments going on, are we at risk of needing more sirens?
Yes. So currently, if I understand correctly, we should have 2 more in the city. One should be on the north end, more towards, let's say the sheriff's department area, give or take. And then I believe there was another one. I don't remember. Sorry. I want to say there was maybe one down by the Park Bowl, if I remember right. So that whole area down in there. So currently, yes, we should have actually 2 more to cover the city better. With the new Hanson property, they'll hear it some from the County B siren. But yeah, we have work we could do to it, but it's on our list, I believe, our hazard mitigation list, and we've always said if a grant pops up or some situation that we would try and snag and but I brought it up before during budget, like we should really consider, one, keeping up on our current sirens, which we've been doing, we've been budgeting for, and everything's pretty solid right now, but trying to find monies or whatever to add 1, maybe 2, so.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
If we approve a 5-year contract and then add additional sirens, does that nullify the contract? Well, maybe that's a legal issue, sorry.
Well, no, I think the way this company is, I would suspect that they would add it to it. Every time I've worked with them, they're always like trying to help me figure out how to squeeze the penny, right? And I don't know for sure, but I would suspect, knowing them and how they work, that they would say, "Yep, we'll throw another one on there, or 2 or whatever." So.
Cindy, I make a motion, we approve the weather siren service contract for 5 years.
This is Crystal, I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I assume you're good with 5 years, Nate?
I think that for the reasons the chief explained about trying to lock into a dollar amount, I also think that the magnitude of this annual purchase is pretty small in comparison to many other things we do. And so if it was $14,000, I'd be more concerned, because if we ever have to go to the point of making budget cuts, it's a lot harder number to have locked in for 5 years. But again, I think I have no concerns. I think if the chief has it in his budget already, and if the most it's grown is $25 per site, $75 in a year, I think it's very manageable.
Sure. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Emma,
Aye.
that's Faith,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking.
Aye.
All right. Item number 16, review and acceptance of Vernon County Community Development Grant.
Cindy, do you want to
I could start it by.
start it?
Yeah, we applied for this for the renovation of the WPA bathhouse into the Baroka Welcome Center. And we were very thrilled to learn that we had received the $10,000. So, yes.
Yeah, very exciting. What you have in front of you is just the grant summary and award of conditions. We signed a similar document with the Eckhart Playground project last year. I've reviewed this, spoke to Amy Oliver, who is the community development director over at the county, and just had some clarifying questions. And there's nothing in this agreement that's concerning. It's a pretty basic, hey, we'll give you this, but you got to deliver us this, right? So like the terms of, there's a performance period, there's some monitoring and expense showing, but for what we're doing with the bathhouse, we're going to have all that information very easily at our fingertips. There was one thing in there that talked about under here, the grant project modifications. They talk about major modifications and minor modifications and just what constitutes either. My concern was like with the minor modifications, if every time the project has to make a change order to change from this tile to this tile or this handle to that handle, do we have to go run it by the county? And I confirmed with Amy that that is not the intention of the grant for every small change order that we go to that. It was more of, the example they gave is if you want to do a park amenity and instead of a basketball court, you want to create a volleyball court, right? That's still a recreational opportunity, but it's definitely a pivot. So that was something that they would want to check in on. But I said to Cindy, I said to Amy, I don't think we're ever going to change the project that much. We worked too hard to really solidify what the project is. I don't even see anything from a minor modification happening, but if it is, it will be very manageable. So again, I have no issue really with the grant application expectations, and we're just looking for an approval for the mayor to go ahead and sign this.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Vernon County Community Development Grant for the WPA bathhouse renovation.
And this is Crystal, I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? Gonna do a roll call, I suppose.
Todd Spath,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
and Emma.
All right. Item number 17, review and approval of pay request number 9 for the fire station project.
Chief, if you want to go ahead, I'll get it queued up for us.
Okay. So.
Oh, that's right. It was part of.
This is number 9, so similar to what you've heard me say in the past. A little bit less dollar amount than some of the previous ones, but did spend a lot of time talking to Levi from Veerbeckers. He's the one that reviews that on behalf of the city, and everything's still on track. I mean, percentages are following good. Some of the bigger numbers really make sense because of who's there right now as far as contractors. But yeah, I guess unless you have any questions, there's anywhere from 20 to 30 people there on average now working. So you're really seeing things ramp up as far as the detail work. And I suspect that these numbers are going to start, going back to the bigger side with that many contractors there. But a lot of the equipment and a lot of the furnaces and that kind of stuff are there, and we've paid for a lot of that. So but yeah, a lot of concrete's going in, signage is up. If you get a chance to drive by, all the signs are up on the building and by the road. Looks really good. But yeah, unless you have any questions, there was nothing that jumped out. But again, Levi and I are talking a lot more now as more detail gets into play here, and making sure that he's seeing what I'm seeing, and we ask each other questions and make sure we can answer them and whatever. So.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions? If not, I think we're looking for a motion.
This is Crystal, and I would move approval for the pay request number 9 for the fire station project. And I believe the amount is $533,775.50.
$553,775.
Oh, thank you. Can't read either.
This is AJ. I'll second.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Cindy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth.
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma.
Aye.
Todd Spath.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 18, review and approval of review and approval of pay request number 4, Main Street Tap Project. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, tap. Oh, how does this always happen to me? I'm realizing I've got pay request for both projects. But what I really want is pay request for Main Street. Sorry, you'll have to bear with me for a moment here. Okay. Hi, Nate. Okay. I don't think that's my little screen in the middle, is it?
No.
Okay. All right, so pay request 4. I would dare to say we're in the last few pay requests. So I am hoping by the time we leave the building that the traffic control will more or less all be gone from the downtown, which is a good sign. And then tomorrow and the next day, they'll be doing painting and marking removal. And then we're really on the way to be done. So this was a big chunk of it here. So this did go through Public Works ahead of time for the amount of $237,655 and 31 cents. What we don't see a lot of in here that was done was electrical work. For whatever reason, the electrical contractor is just not very aggressive about getting their payments submitted. So their loss, not ours. But everything seems to be falling in line with what we expected. Anything that's additional over what I would say a normal percentage is just a exchange of another type of product for one. For example, there's more pedestrian curb in here and it was supposed to be a retaining wall, or excuse me, there's some more pedestrian here, which was instead of having to remove the retaining wall. And so we just basically overall have saved our funds. We are looking on target. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. There is going to be a change order for the Decker one coming up that's related to the repair work that we were doing. But for everything else, I think we're sort of on course. So
Make a motion, we pay request number 4, Main Street Tap Project, $237,655.31.
Say jail second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Crystal. Aye. Steve.
Aye.
Seth.
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
Pat Kirking.
Aye.
Emma.
Aye.
Pat Spade.
Aye.
And Cindy.
Aye.
All right. Item number 19, review and approval of pay request number 6, 2024 sewer project.
all right, so sewer project is also coming to an end. As you can see, we're right in everybody's face on Main Street there. That's where they're crossing with the sewer. But pardon, sorry, I heard somebody. I can't hear you. Oh, she sneezed, sorry. That's what happens when you can't hear very well. My hearing aids distorted it and it sounded like you were trying to tell me something, like a snicker or something. Anyway, okay, so we're working our way on that, basically taking out the lift station. That should happen early next week at the fairgrounds. There was a lot of paving happening today, which made me very nervous because they started with this project instead of Main Street. And I was, get over it on Main Street so we can open everything up. But that was good because that means they got everything done. So yeah, we're moving along. And this pay request for number 6 is $151,372.48. And I would say we're probably on the 43. excuse me. I think this is one of our last ones as well, so.
You probably said this when we first started the project, but this is a dangerous lift station for them to work on, as I recall, right? So this
Yeah,
is
and
important for this to be taken care of.
Listen, if we can avoid, it's just so many bad parts about it. It's not very easy to work on because it's confined space entry. It is so old that we're having problems getting replacement components. And anytime you can avoid using mechanical equipment, electricity, replacement pump, all that jazz, it's just better. So yeah, this is a big project for us in terms of winning some things that we needed to win, like not having a sewer line that goes through the landfill and getting rid of a lift station. So.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, this is Todd. I move to approve the pay request number 6 for the 2024 sewer project for $151,372.43.
Todd, I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirkie,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Pat Spade,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
and Crystal.
Aye.
All right, item number 20, discussion with possible action on fire line proposal for 5-year maintenance, NFPA 25 for the library.
So when I saw this in my inbox, the first thing I said was like, wait a minute, we just did this, which is correct. We did do an annual maintenance agreement with Fireline for City Hall and the library. What this is when they did the annual maintenance, because this is the first time, they realized that we were deficient in the fact that there was not a 5-year inspection on the fire system that is required by code. And it's more than just sort of like looking at everything. This is like they actually take parts out, test check valves, replace pressure gauges, and actually look at the system, like take parts of it out apart. So obviously they didn't do that the first time they were there. I did and will continue to reinforce, like, this would have been nice to do when you were here, but I think they just weren't expecting that we were already out of compliance here. So so this is a one-time thing that would happen like once every 5 years, but this contract is just for this one time, and it's $1,145.
So this is for like inspecting sprinkler systems?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a coded requirement that I was not aware of before.
They aren't gonna show up next month and say we're due for a 10-year maintenance.
Yeah,
or anything.
well, possibly, not that I'm aware of, but
The library is almost 10 years old.
yeah.
If you can believe it.
Good
If you can
point.
believe it, but no, I think it's one of the not great things about having Sarah and Wade and Tyrell pay closer attention to property maintenance is the more we start doing things we're supposed to be doing, the more that leads to figuring out other things we're supposed to be doing. And I think eventually it will come to an end, but I think again, it's the building's been up for 10 years and we haven't had the sprinklers inspected probably once in that time.
Your mic's off, Sarah. Your mic's off.
We're learning, is what I'm saying, Emma out there. We're realizing there's things that we just didn't know or expect was a requirement that we're now catching.
Cindy, I make a motion, we approve the fire line proposal for 5-year maintenance and FPA-25 for the library.
Todd, I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Oh, roll
Aye.
call. Sorry. Hoping we're done with those. Japers.
That was not a sneeze. Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma.
Aye.
Pat Spade,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
and Steve.
Aye.
Sorry. We'll move item number 21, discussion with possible action on chapter 8.32 ordinance amendment regarding noxious weeds. And this will be a second reading. And I think
This came back because there was a part of that got missed at the last one. That's why we brought it back for a second reading part of that coloring on there didn't show through. And so I think that was missed when the discussion was happening. So we wanted to make sure you guys were aware before we actually officially approved it.
Right. So Stephanie Hopkins is with us, way back there. And, essentially George flagged this for us when he went through the ordinance. We had essentially, as part of our first reading, the council had felt comfortable with these changes. But as Lori said, the way that this was, formatted, caused us to not talk about it. We missed it and it wasn't flagged. So essentially the language that's under consideration is right here. If the owner occupant of the property informs the city clerk of his or her intent to appeal the municipal court decision, which municipal court doesn't exist anymore, before the expiration of the 48 hours, the city will not take action to abate until either the period of appeal has expired and no appeal has been filed or a decision is made on the appeal. So I think there's just some complications now that we're with circuit court, and maybe Stephanie can help us understand what the concerns are.
So I guess we're recommending that we just delete that provision. That was in there because obviously a appeal from the municipal court to the circuit court is a lot quicker resolution, right? I think you have 20 days to file a notice of appeal. Circuit court will get you in fairly quickly. We would have a pretty quick resolution on that. Appealing things to the appellate division is a whole different animal. And what we would end up having is by the time we got an appellate division decision, we'd be in the middle of winter and then we'd start all over again. And we might not still have a decision by the time we get to the spring again, right? And so it's our recommendation that we just remove that provision. Obviously, they have the right to appeal a circuit court decision to the appellate division. So that doesn't take away anyone's rights. But I don't think that we need to necessarily wait to abate unless they do something to prevent the city from abating pending the resolution of the appeal, if that makes sense.
And so when you're saying they would do something to prevent the city.
File an injunction or do something to stay any sort of abatement proceedings by the city.
Good. So you're looking to just remove that entire section. So a motion to amend that to not include that section would be.
That would be our suggestion. Obviously, you could amend that section if you wanted to do something differently, but we need to do something with that section, obviously, because we don't have a municipal court anymore.
Got it.
Is there questions on? I'm looking at Seth for his.
Right, it looks like there's a question.
Verbal cue. Yeah.
Right.
So my understanding of it, and maybe my understanding is the ordinance created a sort of self-directed process for staying the abatement based on appeal. What Stephanie and George are suggesting is remove that and just let the appeal and potential stay of abatement be handled through other legal means and not self-contained with our ordinance. And the reason for doing it is if that we created ourselves, we basically put ourselves into a spiraling timeline where if we have a property that's just woefully neglected and out of compliance, we have no ability to abate it as long as that person's dragging it out in appellate court, because our ordinance says so. But if we were to say, nope, you can go file an appeal, but in the meantime, we're going to go abate the property. And the only way they'd be able to stop that is through some sort of legal injunction. Is that the terrible layman's?
It's
reiteration
accurate.
of it?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. And, generally I when George spoke to me about it, I was like, yep, that seems to make sense. I don't think we had any concerns. Again, this has sort of been through the chief as well. And I don't think he had any concerns with moving on this either. So.
Good.
I make a motion, we accept let's see where it is. The chapter 8.32 ordinance amendment regarding noxious weeds, removing that section and waiving the second reading or the third reading or however you want to call it.
Mrs. Todd, I second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Is that a good motion for you, Lori? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Item number 22, discussion with possible action on ordinance amending chapter 10.26 one-way streets of the Viroqua Municipal Code.
Welcome back.
Right.
I'm down on my steps anyway. So basically state statute requires that if we are going to have one-way streets within the city, that we do it by ordinance, order, or resolution. I guess our previous city attorney decided to do it by codified ordinance, which I don't know that we would have needed to codify it. We decided for right now, it's simpler probably just to amend our ordinance existing to add the one-way streets while we figure out how we maybe want to do that in the future as we grow. So this is just adding the 2 new one-way streets that have been recently added in the downtown construction.
Thank you. Questions? No, not. We're looking for a motion to amend that.
This is Crystal, and I would move that we adopt or accept the ordinance amending chapter 10.26 one-way streets to the Viroqua Municipal Code. And I don't know if don't know if we need another reading or not.
Yeah.
What do you?
So you can waive the second reading.
We can waive the second reading. Okay.
Mhm.
Cindy, I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I just think it's really interesting. You have to have an ordinance to do one-way streets. Order or a resolution.
Right.
Or a resolution. But I think if we had it.
Yes.
If we have an ordinance that does not list all of the one-way streets and we did these streets by a different method, people would be confused if they looked at our ordinance.
Yeah, no.
Right.
it's-
Yes.
Thank you.
Keep them all
Yeah.
in one place.
Yeah. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Number 23, payment of the bills.
Cindy, I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Seiji, I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Andrew.
Aye.
Todd Kirking.
Aye.
Emma.
Aye.
Todd Spade.
Aye.
Cindy.
Aye.
Crystal.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
And Seth.
Aye.
Before we move on to 24, I'm just going to ask you a question. The last time I think we went into a closed session, I read the whole thing and then you wanted to have something in open session before we got into it. Is that the same here? Should I dive into that one?
So, good question. Good, sorry. I think the way that the rules go, and I'm gonna look at Louis, the rules are over there, is
Louis, the
that
rules are.
I can't. I tried it twice too, and I still came out wrong. You read it no matter what.
Sure.
No matter
guess I
what.
was just at-
The key is that you don't automatically have to make a motion to go into closed session. It's a possible closed session.
Right.
So read the agenda item, and then before anybody jumps in and makes a motion to go into closed session, maybe look at me and say, hang on, before you do that, I would recommend talking about this first and then going in.
I guess that's what I was asking, because we tend to jump right into it. So I'll read it and then everybody just pause for
Sure.
a second here. Item number 24 is a possible closed session per Wisconsin statute 1985 1G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. And this is regarding Leather and Associates contract and invoice. Anything before we take a vote? to
No,
go
I'd
into closed
recommend
session?
going into
No.
closed session.
Thanks, Nate.
This is Louis and I concur.
I'll make a motion. we go into
This
closed
is Todd. I
session.
make a motion to go into closed session.
This is Crystal. I'll second.
2 motions in 1 second on that one. All right. Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Todd Kirking.
All right.
Emma.
Aye.
Todd
Aye.
Spade. Cindy.
Aye.
Crystal.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Seth.
Aye.
And Andrew.
Aye.
So before we officially turn off the lights, I would definitely recommend keeping Kale in on this. And then Kim has been involved on the steering committee, and I would recommend that she stay as well.
Good idea.
Okay.
That's
and
why.
then Stephanie and Hopkins.
Approve that.
Definitely. Right.
And then,
I thought that's-
and then the key person, and then
Right.
Stefan.
Right. And that's why I asked the question, because Kim was here and I wanted to make sure if there was something we wanted her to say,
Oh.
if she wasn't going to stay.
Sorry.
That's what I was. Do you need to get up at all, Todd?
Oh, my.
He's recovering from the surgery.
Okay. Hey, do you guys want to grab a empty seat? Just because we'll still need the mic. Kim, do you want to grab an empty seat just so when you speak, Emma can hear you? Yeah, and then the one on the other side is Cindy, Kim. We'll make Hale stand. You look like you're
I'm just moving
a
slow.
little
I
tender.
did a little work today, and you know, and you do a little yard.
Yeah,
And it just, I might have done just a,
I just overdid it.
that's how it goes. you know?
Emma, we're just everybody's taking a quick body break here.
Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing.
You didn't figure that out over there. We'll be back in just a couple seconds.
Ready to go?
Yeah, we're back and open.
All right. We're on item number 25, which is reconvene an open session with possible action on items discussed during closed session.
Make a motion, we proceed with what was discussed in closed session.
Todd will second it.
Motion in a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Item number 26, second period for public comment. No public is left that probably has anything they'd like to add here.
to come back in.
Is there anybody online that would like to make a public comment? No? Then I would take a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Todd will make motion to adjourn.
This is Emma, I'll second the motion.
Got a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
On, off, batteries out.
Yeah.
Just turn them off if you